I was making about 24 grand a year and drowning in debt, but my friend who was making nearly 3 times as much as me was also broke, right? So today what I want to do is show you the 5 mistakes that keep high earners living paycheck to paycheck, stuck where they are, spinning their wheels on the hamster wheel, stuck in the rat race, whatever you want to call it. But don't worry, I'm not here to sell you anything, just give you actionable steps that you can take advantage of today and get an immediate impact from. Plus the simple steps that can free up probably around £500 to £1,500 per month on average for most people. So what are these? These are the 5 mistakes that are keeping you broke, even with a good job. Some people who have been through this kind of process, who are now avoiding these mistakes, having worked with me. Julia, who now saves an extra 5 grand a month between her and her partner. James, who's now saving an extra £1,000 a month. And Phil, who is saving an extra 17,000 euros a year versus what they were before having worked with me. These are real people getting real results. You can check out their videos where I'm talking to them about the process on my YouTube channel. But who am I and how do I know this? So my name's Joe, and in 2015, like I said, I was making about 24 grand a year and I was drowning in debt. Fast forward to now, today, 10 years later, I'm completely consumer debt free and have built a net worth of over £600,000. I was able to do this because I was able to avoid making these 5 mistakes that keep high earners living paycheck to paycheck. I know this because I was a low earner making these mistakes and it was keeping me stuck. And I've now been a high earner as well who was still making some of these mistakes, and it was keeping me feeling like I couldn't progress in terms of building wealth, right? And having nothing to show for this seemingly high income. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to share these simple fixes, really simple fixes that can free up hundreds, if not 1,000 plus every single month for everyone who implements these processes. But you can see here, just as some proof, this was my compensation statement back when I was working my 9 to 5, earning 23.5 grand a year. This was my last day at that job a few years later, about 7 years later from this starting point, escaping my 9 to 5 at the age of 32, my wife taking a picture of me as I was walking out the door, us celebrating that fact over here, and our net worth from the latest month, you can see July 2025 as of recording, we hit 602k, which is pretty damn cool. So that's me. Those are just some of the people. You check out the YouTube, there's about 13 other videos I think on top of those to check out. So what are those mistakes? Mistake number 1 is the subscription graveyard. This is kind of in tandem with mistake number 2, but they are separate, and you'll kind of realize why as I go through them. But they were worth separating. Number 1 is a subscription graveyard. Ultimately, you have way too many subscriptions. You you might not think it, but everyone does at the end of the day, and you might not think they add up. But when I calculated mine, it was about £180 a month between me and my wife in terms of our combined household expenses for things that we were paying for that we didn't use often, didn't get value out of anymore, or that we weren't getting any enjoyment from. So we cancelled them. We haven't missed them, and we're now better off as a result. So, and this is just this one mistake, right? But just some examples here of what some of the subscriptions we're talking about are. So, things like Hulu, your Disney Plus, your Netflix, fitness apps, magazine and newspaper subscriptions, meal box, clothing box subscriptions, cloud storage, music streaming services, you name it, there is a subscription or a monthly recurring payment to get a product or service that provides you that, right? Like I say, if you're getting value out of it and you get use out of it, keep it by all means. But most people have a lot of subscriptions that are either they're paying twice for the same thing, sometimes 2, 3 or 4 times plus for the same thing. An example of this is cloud storage. A lot of people buy additional Apple cloud storage because they fill their phone up with photos that they don't want to delete, not realizing that they're also paying for Amazon Prime, which gives them access to Amazon Photos, which is a free app included within your Amazon subscription, where you've got unlimited photo storage. It's not unlimited video storage, but it is unlimited photo storage. So most people could move their photos over to that, which is done automatically via the app, delete all the photos on their phone, and then they could cancel that cloud storage subscription that they have and automatically, immediately save money. So the fix what do you do to fix this leaky bucket? Just complete a specific audit process, okay? Check your bank statements for the last 3 months. You can use an app like Snoop in the UK if you're doing this, or YNAB in the US if you're doing this as well, and just look over your payments, your expenses for the last 3 months. The beauty of using an app like Snoop is that it categorizes it, and anything it recognizes as a subscription will get thrown into the subscriptions category. It's an absolute game changer rather than going through your bank statements and having to total this up yourself. But I'll show you in a second how you can do that with something that I've got for you that might help. And look for any recurring charges when you're going through the app or through your bank statements, any recurring charges under £50, that kind of figure or less. This alone freed up £180 a month for us, which is £2,160 per year on subscriptions that we weren't even using or didn't know about, or were maybe kind of like aware of but didn't use enough or get enough value out of it for it to be worth us paying for it. Do you remember James from earlier, one of those examples I gave you? He found £150 a month in forgotten or unused subscriptions, and we're only one mistake into this 5 mistakes video, right? So how do you audit your last 3 months? Really, really simple. You're going to look back over your monthly statements, like I said, or use the app to look over your your past 3 months of pay cycles. And you're going to upload that information to a tool, something like this. So I've got a tool here, which I'll leave the link to in the description if you want to get your hands on it. It is basically what I call the Elite Money Management tool. And what it does is it helps you to keep track of your month-to-month finances. So with this, you can track your actual outgoings for month 1, month 2, and month 3. And in the totals tab, it's going to show you what your total expenses were for each of those months, what your average free cash flow was for each of those 3 months. And then it gives you a chance to build a new budget, having seen all of that information, cutting out all the stuff you don't want, to see what your new cash flow is and what the difference, what the savings have been. It's an absolute game changer. So step 1, map out all of the expenses in month 1, month 2, and month 3. Okay. And then step 2 is look for those recurring charges, those things that are popping up in your balance sheet that you don't like, that you're not using, that aren't providing you with value or fulfillment or happiness or use anymore. And then ask yourself 2 questions. Do I really need this? And will this help me become financially free? If you answer no to either of those questions, just unsubscribe right there and then. Go onto your app store, unsubscribe. Go onto the website, unsubscribe. They sometimes make it a little bit difficult, but just do it, get it done, and you'll immediately have saved money for things that were just eating into your cash flow and stopping you from building wealth. So that is mistake number 1 and the fix. Mistake number 2 is the convenience tax. Kind of goes hand in hand with mistake number 1, but there is a difference and kind of additional, granularity I wanted to go into here. So the problem is that most people are spending hundreds, if not thousands of pounds per month on convenience without even realizing it. So I'm talking about things like your Amazon shopping, right? The ability to get stuff delivered to your doorstep the next working day, even though you probably don't need it the next working day, not always anyway. Sometimes I get it, it's convenient. I have an Amazon, payment, and I do occasionally use it for things that we need that would be really helpful if we could get it the next day because there's nowhere near us that sells it. But ultimately, the bottom line is you can often get things up to 50% cheaper on eBay, still free delivery, but just arrives in 2 to 3 days instead of the next day. I'm talking about like your convenience store shopping where you drop in to get a pint of milk and you also end up picking up, a bunch of junk that you didn't need. And delivery services as well, Deliveroo, Uber Eats, that kind of thing. Convenience costs so much. You might not think it adds up, but when I calculated mine, it was over £590 a month. You can see here I've got some examples, some of the stuff we were buying off of Amazon, some of the subscriptions and plans and payments we were paying for like health and beauty, just extra luxury stuff that we didn't really need, and subscriptions as well. We're talking nearly £590 a month, 500 plus per month was what we were averaging, and it just wasn't worth the cost. So track your convenience spending for 1 week. This is really, really easy. I'll show you in the tool. So in each of your balance sheets, you've got this area here called discretionary. Just track everything in here that wasn't a fixed essential bill. So your shopping, your groceries, takeout, eating out, your subscriptions, all of that kind of stuff. Track everything in there and then go through it with a fine-tooth comb and think, where are we spending more than we're happy to? It's not about restricting your life to the point of misery and cutting out all the fun and the things that you want to do that provide you and your partner or your family with happiness. It's about cutting out the stuff that is wasteful or not providing you with value and fulfillment, and not getting things you aren't getting use out of, so you have more money to put to the things that provide you and your family with happiness and fulfillment and the ability to create experiences and things like that, right? That's what it's all about. So track your convenience spending for 1 week alone. Maybe a month would be more beneficial, but you'll be shocked. And that's how you do it in that part of the tool. Then once you've identified it and cut it out, set your upper limits, right? Adjust those numbers in here to the amount you're happy to spend. Challenge yourself to keep it at an amount that is obviously, first of all, realistic, that you're actually going to stick to, but still challenging and requires some thought so that you're intentional about how you're spending your money. And that way you'll just be more conscious of it, and you will therefore subconsciously make better, more informed financial decisions. So after tracking your spending for a week, you'll obviously cut a few things out. After you've done that, set a budget for yourself. And then as a quick tip, just make sure it's actually something you can stick with. Otherwise, there is absolutely no point. So the spreadsheet that I've got has got some nice charts here. So you can see kind of as a percentage of your overall outgoings and expenses, how much is going on those discretionary things. And you can try and adjust those numbers to stick within the percentage you're happy with. And that will be an absolute game changer. That's mistake number 2. Mistake number 3 is the debt interest trap. If you've got debt, answer me this question. Have you ever checked the interest that you're paying on debts? Not how much you pay overall per month, but just the part of that equates to the interest payment to service the interest on those debts. If not, go and check it as soon as possible. I was personally paying over $700 a month in interest alone when I first looked into my finances and started trying to start to eliminate my debts. Minimum payment, just making the minimum payments keeps you trapped, and more than you can possibly believe or understand unless you've looked at it. So the fix is to use a method like the avalanche method or the snowball method. Okay, the differences between them really is the avalanche method focuses on the highest interest debt that you have first, and the snowball method focuses on the smallest balance, right, that you have, and then works in order from smallest to biggest. Whereas avalanche will focus on the highest interest first, through to the next highest, and so on and so forth. Both of them stack the payments, so once one balance is paid off, it takes what you were paying off of that one and lumps it onto the next required debt payment. In summary, the debt avalanche method will always save you the most in interest and get your debts gone faster, but the snowball method can sometimes be similar, not always, like rarely if anything, but can be similar when the interest rates are quite similar to each other. And it's more psychologically pleasing in the short term because obviously you're paying off the smallest balance first, and therefore it can feel like you're making more progress in terms of the number of debts that you have, not the overall amount. The overall amount will go down faster with the avalanche method if the interest rates are different, especially. The outcome, restructuring your debts and the order in which you pay them and using the right method, is saving my students on average £25,000 in interest on average. Claire saved £31,403. Adam saved $15,500. Jennifer saved $18,347. And Nick, every now and again we have one of these insane examples that comes through. Nick was able to save $119,605 over his repayment term. You can see the differences in their repayment terms as well. So Claire was originally due to be paying her debts off for 17 and a half years, just over that. And as now it's only going to take them 3.6 years to get it paid off. So that's 14 years less of making payments. Adam was due to take 17 years to pay off his debt. It's now only going to take him 3 years. That's a difference of 13 years. Jennifer was originally due to take 5 years. We've cut that in half, down to 2.4. Nick, it was going to take him 27 years to pay off his debt. It's now only going to take him 2.3 years. That's 25 years less. It's absolutely insane. Then we have mistake number 4. This mistake is the future me fantasy that we all have, where we always say, when the time's right, I'll start investing, or now's not the right time, I'll do it when X happens, or when the kids are this age, or when they're in school, or when I hit this work milestone, whatever it is, I'll start saving more once I earn X amount. It doesn't happen. 99% of people who say that never actually end up doing it, and all the while you are missing out on lost wealth potential, lost compounding, lost investment potential for yourself, which you then have to pay for in the future. So, and I was in the same place, like it says there. This includes me. So what do you do? The truth is, as income increases, it doesn't automatically mean that you will save more unless you have a system in place. So instead, this is what you do when you get a pay rise. Pay yourself first. It's really, really simple. You may have heard people say that. What does that actually mean? It means when you get paid, work out how much you can save and invest and do it at that moment in time. And then what's left is what you have left to spend for the rest of the month. If you figure that out at the start of the month, or most people just don't even do that step, they just kind of see where they land at the end of the month. But if there's money in their bank account throughout the month, they'll just spend it, right? People end up essentially living within the means that they have, whether that's on living or luxuries. So I'm going to show you this step and show you how to get it pretty much automated. Okay, but even if it's 50 quid a month, it still beats zero. So how do you set up the monthly calculation for your cash flow? So the tool that I have does this for you automatically. Essentially, once you've got your planned income in the table and your planned expenses, it will show you your free cash flow here. Obviously, this is the look back tool. So this has just got the actuals in it because they were looking back over actual months. But you can see based on the actual income minus all of the actual expenses, their actual free cash flow was 620. So just using that as an example, if that was done at the beginning of the month and that was their planned income versus their planned expenses, and they'd mapped it out and they'd thought about it well, they'd set themselves realistic limits, their free cash flow, if that was £620, I'd be looking at that thinking, okay, I'm going to set aside 120 as contingency for just variance in the month-to-month expenses for things we haven't considered. But 500 of that is getting saved or invested, depending on my goals. If I've got a specific short-term savings goal, it's going into that. Debt elimination goal, it's going to that. But if those things are taken care of, then it's investing it. And then it's a case of where is it going to be invested, which is something that you'll figure out. If you need help with that, then obviously reach out. So that's how you set up the automated calculation of your cash flow every single month. You're always going to be putting in your planned expenses and your planned income. It's automatically going to tell you your cash flow. From that, you can determine where you're going to save and invest it, and then it's just done. So no more manually taking money from yourself, right? Just set it and forget it. And what that does is it also guarantees savings growth. Because if you were to set up a automated deposit, for example, of £300, sounds like a great place to start. And it is, it's better than doing nothing. But what happens when your income grows and you're still only paying in £300 a month? It's just not optimal, because there are going to be months where you can do way more than that. And there might be months where you can't do 300 because you've got, a holiday, 2 weddings, a christening, and your auntie's birthday party, and all of this kind of stuff is going to eat into your cash flow, and you need to be planning for that, because that's life, right? Life's expenses aren't just linear through the year. They go up and down, sometimes quite significantly. So you need to be calculating your cash flow every single month, and by doing that, as your income increases, it's going to feed through into your free cash flow. That's going to become bigger. You'll get more confident with the contingency you're setting aside to make that smaller and smaller, which is going to make your cash flow grow even more because you're getting better at budgeting. And then that's going to mean you've got even more to save and invest. And that guarantees savings and investment growth. And that guarantees that you build wealth faster. It's going to be an absolute game changer. Mistake number 5 is the invisible money leaks. Now, this is where a lot of people really, really mess up. Ultimately, this comes down similar to mistake 1 and 2, but it's where small purchases just don't feel significant, but they add up massively. So it's those things like the £3 coffee every single day, plus the £8 lunch and the meal deal and the £15 impulse buy, and the getting the extra bits and pieces while you went to the shop to get a £2 bottle of milk and a £1.50 loaf of bread, but ended up coming out with 15 quid's worth of other bits and pieces. All of this stuff, just on the examples here, is £26 a day, right? And then that's 10 grand a year. 10 grand a year nearly that is being wasted, right? Now, it's something that's so simple, to fix. And once you start going through, mistakes 1 to 4 and the solutions for mistakes 1 to 4 and implementing those, you'll start to wean these out as well. But the fix is to use the 24-hour rule for any non-essential purchases over £25. Okay, so before we get into that though, like I said, when you're using this tool to track what you're spending on eating out, drinking out, coffee, things like that, if there's any particularly bad habits that you have where money is getting wasted, it could be worth tracking those as a separate line item just to keep on top of it and just start to gently wean yourself off. There's no point if you're spending £300 a month on coffee and meal deals every month saying, right, I'm just going to cut that out, expecting it to be that easy. It's not going to be that easy. You need to gently wean yourself off it. Make an allowance to still have something, just so that the point is that you're aware, so that when you do go to spend that, you can think, oh, actually, is there an alternative? Can I just make my coffee at home and bring it out with me? That's going to save me £4 a day. Can I just make a sandwich or a lunch at home from yesterday's leftovers from dinner? That kind of thing. That's going to save me another £8. That's going to stop me going to the shop as much, which is going to stop me spending money on other things, and so on and so forth. And before you know it, you've cut hundreds out, and maybe you've still spent a little bit, but it's been way less because you've been conscious and aware and in control and being proactive rather than reactive. That's the key. To capture anything that's kind of over those smaller amounts, this is where we use the 24-hour rule for non-essential purchases. So this is really, really simple. The flow chart is like this. First of all, ask yourself, is this purchase over £25? If not, 24-hour rule doesn't apply. Don't worry too much about it. Just consider if it's really worth it. And if it is, and if it's essential, then get it. If it is over £25, then you've got to ask yourself, is this an essential or non-essential purchase? If it's essential, obviously you need it, right? If it's a case of eating or not eating, you're going to have to get it, right? If it's non-essential, put it in your basket, wait 24 hours, okay? If you haven't forgot about it by the next day, leave it in there for a bit longer, right? See if you forget about it. And if you don't, and if it's something you really, really want or need after that period of time, you may have even received a discount for it or something along those lines. And then see, can I get this cheaper elsewhere? Can I use loyalty or reward points? Can I earn cash back on this purchase? Think those things through. And also ask yourself, do I want this more than I want financial freedom? Because obviously for every £100 you spend, right, if this £25 additional unnecessary expense happens 4 times a month, that's £100 a month that you haven't saved or invested. That's going to mount up to tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands over your investing lifetime, once you factor in compounding and additional contributions of that happening every single month, that you're not going to have available to help you retire earlier or achieve financial freedom. Okay, so you really, really just need to consider that. So those are the 5 mistakes. So let's talk about implementation. In terms of implementation, it's really straightforward. What do you need to do? Follow these quick, easy wins, right? Quick win 1 is do the subscription audit. Do it this week for mistake number 1. 2 hours of work on this could save you hundreds of pounds per month. Easily. I've seen it happen time and time again. So I'll be amazed if you can't save at least a few £100 or dollars every single month by just doing that. Quick win number 2 is to track your convenience spending for the next week as well, right? Do it at the same time as you're auditing your expenses from mistake number 1. Just have a look at everything all in conjunction in that tool, because having everything together paints a completely different picture to see where things are really going wrong. And then what you do is set a weekly or a monthly budget for those things that is realistic and achievable, but also challenging, okay? And then analyze the outcome, see where you land at the end of the month. Quick win number 3 is to calculate your actual debt interest. Don't let this one slide. If you have debt, this should probably be your priority in the first instance, because once you've got this, you'll see how much interest you're paying, and then you can do quick win number 1 and 2, free up loads of cash flow in your monthly finances, use the avalanche or snowball method, depending on which one you choose, and you're going to save yourself a fortune in interest, and that will motivate you a ton to start making really, really quick progress. If you avoid all 5 of these mistakes, these fixes could easily free up £1,000 plus a month. And I know this because I've got 215 students who have done that and have got results exactly like that. So it's well worth it. Now, it goes without saying, right? Like all of these things are kind of surface level fixes. What they do is they kind of plug many of the holes in what is a very, very leaky boat. But what they don't do is drive that boat forwards. They don't put an engine on the boat to drive it forwards. They don't put a rudder on the boat to guide it in the direction of the goals that you want to aim towards. And they don't put any kind of rocket boosters on the boat to get you to that final destination in the shortest time frame possible. So there is a lot missing, right? Essentially, they will undoubtedly make a lot of impact for you. They will undoubtedly have a massive impact on your finances, right? But they aren't going to get you to financial freedom unless you've got a plan for where to use that free cash flow you've now generated. The real transformation happens when you build complete systems, complete end-to-end systems, and have a complete end-to-end financial roadmap. Now, if you want help building your own tailored, complete financial roadmap, just book a call with my team. I'll leave a link in the description below so you can do that. There might not be any spots available. I'll be, completely frank. They get booked up all the time. But if you can book a slot, do so, because they are quite rare. And just get started as well. Start with these 5 fixes, and they'll make a real difference ASAP, a real tangible difference that you can sink your teeth into straight away. So those are the 5 mistakes that keep you stuck feeling broke despite a high income. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you could smash the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe as well so you don't miss future videos like this. Go check out the rest of my videos, the interviews that we've done with the people who've been through the program. I share videos all the time on how to manage and invest your money to make your 9-to-5 optional and to help you achieve financial freedom. So go check those out, and I'll see you in the next video.